Well, thanks for clicking the link to talk about this particular song. I've talked before about how liberating it is to do this Song a Month thing because, as I told you before, I work on songs, but doing it this way, I kind of keep this master file of song ideas, and I'm always working on 2 or 3 songs at once. And this is one that I've really had kind of stored away for a while. It's really been almost done up until last week, which is kind of the last week of May, when I finally decided to put the little bridge in there and really write a second verse or third verse, maybe is how you might look at it. So I realize that the Valley of Vision has been talked about a lot. I know there are a lot of songs, especially the folks at Sovereign Grace have used their stuff. Bob Coughlin talks about it a lot. I really didn't know that right at first, so I kind of stumbled on this prayer, this Puritan prayer, really back at the end of 2009, and thought, okay, I want to do something with this. I'm a big fan of kind of that shuffle, that the kind of country, kind of brushes on the snare thing. So I really wanted to write something like that kind of had that groove to it. I think something like that's really neat because you can be very, very country with it, or you can pull back some of the country elements as far as the other instrumentation, and it still works. And I think we have a lot of popular songs like that kind of showcase that, either being very, very folky or kind of dialing that back. So I wanted to write that. I also wanted to keep as much as I could, which I love playing this way. In this particular song, I did this in F. I'm playing C shapes, but keeping this drone happening. I don't know if you can hear that real well. So for this song, that certainly adds some of that country element because it almost sounds like a mandolin. It almost sounds like a high dulcimer part just kind of rolling around. So I wanted to do that as far as the song was concerned, and also wanted to have lots of suspension, a lot of that G sus suspension shake. So that's kind of musically where I wanted to go with that. I realized that I've written a song kind of based on the same line that's a bridge of another song. So Maker of My Days has all my hope is in you, and then I titled this All My Hope Is Thee. Because that's just kind of where I am. I don't know if this song will ever be done. But you can't really hold back when you're writing songs. You just got to write where you are, and you got to try to write what works. And so for somebody like me who writes a lot of songs and who shares a lot of songs, I never know if somebody's going to hear one and say, hey, I'd like to do that at my church. And so I try not to stress too much about, oh my gosh, that song's kind of like the other one. I just try to write where I am. And so for a lot of us writers, it takes us 2, 3, 4 songs to get over a theme. I mean, we may look back on our writing for the year and we may say, man, I was writing a lot about mercy last year. And that's kind of how this is. So it's just kind of where I am spiritually. And I just liked all of the phrasing here. I liked how poetic this song was. And I really loved, here's an empty heart, fill it with thy gifts. Here's a darkened mind, chase away its ignorance. I just like that because that's how I feel. I don't know if you feel that way, but I certainly do all the time when it's time for me to worship, or it's time for me to serve, or it's time for me to minister to somebody. Sometimes I just have that empty heart feeling like, God, I don't know. I mean, I have nothing to give. And so I just like how dependent on the Father this song is. These words are. Even in the first verse. Vain will be these gifts unless I grow in your grace. So I just thought it was a great song that was very honest, but also wasn't very selfish. And so I'm trying to stay away from. There are enough selfish worship songs in the world. I'm trying to stay away from those. And so if in a song I can express both my own personal need for God and yet still make Him the focus and His strength the focus and His provision the theme, then that's a win for me. In a worship song. And then I just thought the chorus was kind of fun. You know, lead, guide, tend, without thy rod. It's got words like air and straight. And you guys know I love the older words. And so I think that kind of pushes this song in a little bit different direction. We all know what those words mean, but we don't sing words like that in church very much. We certainly don't sing about the Lord's rod. And so I thought that was kind of neat. I realized there's a sort of a bigger statement about God's sovereignty in that verse 3. Power to obey and me cannot be found. Enable me with your love. come with almighty power. And that comes from the Puritan prayer, and I realize that. And so some of you may not be as Calvinist as that, or as sovereign-minded as that. It works for me because I believe that to be true, that power to obey God cannot be found inside of me. I've seen it over and over and over again. So I realize that takes a song in a little bit different direction. But that's kind of what I was going for. Something kind of different, sort of a different kind of country feel, and words that match that. We've talked about that a little bit, of making sure that your words fit what your music is doing. And so I've got a lot of songs written in this shuffle thing, but sometimes the poetry's not there. And so this one was kind of fun for me, just to realize, okay, I'm going to stick with old words. And so paraphrasing off the Valley Vision really helped that. That can be really, if you're a songwriter and you're stuck, sometimes just paraphrasing something can really kind of get the creative juices flowing. And certainly I can't take credit for all of these words, because these ideas are in this prayer from this book. But for me, it was just really fun to say, okay, this isn't just Todd writing a song. Let's take what this prayer says and let's try to make it singable. And let's try to be true to the overall prayer and yet make it work as a musical composition. So anyway, that's the song. I'd really like to know what you think. If you think it's stupid, if you think it works, if you think it could work in a congregation. You know what? It's funny. So I've done 5 of these now. I like when people would say, Todd, I don't like this one as much as the others. It's funny because if you look back at the Songwriting 2010s, you'll see, if there's any comment, it's like, great job. But there's some, there's like no comments. And I guess a non-yes is a no. But yeah, I mean, if you think, I don't know if that works, man, put it in there. I mean, I can take it. And I'd love to talk songwriting with people. And there are a lot of you out there who write songs. And so, who knows? Maybe your encouragement might point me in a different direction with songs. So anyway, thanks for watching. I will tell you that if I look at my little songwriting file here, I have very, very little left. I've kind of written through, 5 or 6 songs, and so I'm kind of excited about June to start just brand new and just kind of attack something, and hopefully I'll get on that really in the next day or two and start working. It's taken me about a month to write these, and it's because I'm not really stressing about them, just working on them in my spare time. So anyway, hey, thanks for watching. If you're out there and you want to write songs, do it. Grab a guitar, grab a piano, start doing it. It is a blast. You'll get addicted to it, but it's a good addiction, especially if you're writing songs of praise, because it's a great way to honor God with your talents, and also to be pretty honest with yourself about your own heart. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next month.